Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar on the Research Master in Public Administration, Organizational Science. My name is Albert Meyer. I'm one of the coordinators of this program. Sitting next to me is...
My name is Mai. I am from Denmark, and so I'm one of the international students in our program, and I'm a first-year student.
Together, we're going to give you some information about this program. We'll tell you a little bit about the courses that you will take in this program, the careers you can pursue on the basis of this program, and the requirements that we have for entry to this program. But let me first tell you a little bit about who we are and how you can use this webinar. As we said before, Mai and I will be the two ones that will be talking to you on this webinar. The third member of our crew is Lars Tummers. You have already had the opportunity to start a chat with him. He's my co-coordinator of this program, and he's very happy to answer all your questions on chat. What we will do today is we'll tell you a little bit about the program. At the same time, you can start a chat. You can ask questions to Lars, and he will immediately answer these questions. We will take some of these questions to the end, to the Q&A, and then we'll also answer these questions in the webinar. And during the Q&A, you can also ask new questions on chat. So there are lots of opportunities for interaction, and we're very curious to hear your questions and to answer your questions. Let me start with a first interesting question. Why would you want to study public administration and organizational science in Utrecht? Mike, could you tell us a little bit about why you chose to do this program in Utrecht?
Yeah, of course. There's a number of reasons why this was ideal for me. First of all, I was very excited back when I did an exchange during my bachelor study. So I knew that going international was a good option for me. But particularly Utrecht was because I have some good contacts here, and from everything I've heard about the city and the study environment and also the academic environment was really good. I had heard both that the social life was very lively city, and that the USPO is a pretty high level place. So for me, that was sort of the main reasons I knew I could expect a good academic level, and I knew that I could expect a nice social environment, a nice city to live in.
Okay. In addition to that, I could say that it's also the leading Dutch university according to the Shanghai ranking. So international, we have a very good reputation. We're the biggest university in the Netherlands, and we're the leading university according to the Shanghai ranking. We have a strong international program with students from different countries, and also some teachers from different countries. So that's also, I think, a strong suit of this program. We have a very vibrant community. If you do this program, you're not just one of the students that is not noticed by anyone. We have a close-knit community. We have about 18 to 20 students each year. They have strong connections to each other and to the professors. So you will feel at home here in Utrecht, because that's what we want you to do.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, that's definitely something I can confirm. I was really impressed when I arrived here by how much you're actually treated as a colleague. It doesn't feel like a normal lecture, a normal teaching session. It really feels as if you are being prepped to have an actual either academic career or whatever you want to do with it, but you're treated more as an equal. It's a very good learning environment where you actively participate, you learn from each other, and you learn from the lecturers and the other way around. And you have lots of connections and opportunities to also do other things outside of studies.
Yeah, and finally, adding to that point is that, and that's also something Mai has already said, Utrecht is a very lively city. It's the fourth city in the Netherlands. It has about 350,000 inhabitants. It's a very nice student city with an old medieval center, many bars, many museums, many nice places to sit and to walk around. So you will really love this city if you come here to do this program. Well, let us tell you a little bit more about the program. What we focus on is public problems. So we're really interested in finding solutions to problems such as environmental pollution, problems of poverty in society, problems of related to high costs of healthcare provision, problems related to the use of new technologies in society. So there are many public problems that are related to some of the grand societal challenges that we face in our modern time. And what we're really interested in is understanding the nature of these problems, but also understanding how public administrations can react to these problems, what kind of policies can work, what kind of collaborations with the citizens or stakeholders will work. So we really want to teach you how to investigate these problems and how to investigate public programs. So that's really the core focus. So this program is really of interest to you if you're interested in public policy, public administration, and in research into public administration. Our education is really small scale. As I said before, we have about 18 students each year, which means that the education is very, very interactive. For some courses, we even split the group up in 2 subgroups. So then you will be taught to a group of about 8 to 10 people. So they're really close relations with the professors. You can ask all the questions, and we really want to make it interactive. Maybe you can add something to that, Maya?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's definitely true that you get sort of this close relationship due to the way the sessions are set up. But it's not only about the number of people you're together and how the teaching is done. It's also because of the way the sessions are set up. It's encouraged a lot that we interact. So there's not so much sort of just lecturing from the teachers. There's different ways of doing group work. Sometimes during the sessions we'll split up into small groups and discuss something more in more detail, or you will have little projects from time to time you have to work on in groups from home and prepare to the sessions. And for instance, sometimes we've also had different roles we had to play, so you learn how to be a moderator or a chair or a discussant and these kind of things. And that works really well. And again, this also helps get the feeling that you're doing something real, that you're learning practical skills that you can really take on and gives you sort of the belief and the courage to go out afterwards you're done and believe that you can do research and make a difference to these problems that are at the core of this program.
Yeah, and adding to that, so it's really about we have 2 profiles or 2 things that we want to teach in the program. One is doing academic research, and the other one is doing applied research. So what we teach you is really a good academic background. We have some very, very strong substantive courses that focus on theories in public administration and organizational science. But we also want to teach you how you can do research for commissioned research for in an applied setting. So it's not only about doing research in an academic environment, it's also working for a consultancy firm or working for an applied research institution. So we think that both are important, and for both you need strong research skills and strong theoretical skills. So we focus on both of these aspects.
And if I can just add one thing to that, this is sort of what Albert is saying is already in the setup, but there is also a flexibility. So if you lean more towards doing consultancy research, or you're more towards the academic, you really also have opportunities to shape that yourself, both with your electives. You're also doing a tutorial, and in that way, also even doing little projects, you really have the opportunity to shape it in the direction you want to go and learn the skills that you yourself find most interesting, and the professors will help you achieve that as well and be flexible in how they go about that as well.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, this is an overview of the 4 sorts of courses that we offer in our program, and what you'll see is that the first set of courses are what we call the substantive courses. We have 3 strong substantive courses. They're they're all 9 EC, so they're quite extensive courses. The first one is on public policy and governance. It's really about the core theories in public administration and political science. So you read some of the classic works, but you also read some recent PhD theses to learn how people apply these classical theories. What books did you discuss this year, Amai?
We were discussing how mayors rule the world and Seeing Like a State. These were two really classics in public administration, and they sort of balance between the public administration perspective and the more political science. The abstraction level is a bit higher. A really good balance between the sort of real introduction to the theories and how the big scholars are actually discussing these things and addressing societal issues, but also then in combination with the PhD theses being sort of shown how you yourself can actually integrate this when you move on.
Yeah. So that's
these were not all of them, but that was just a couple of the
no, I
we
think,
were discussing.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, because I think you explained very well how it's really about the classic theories, but also understanding how they can be applied. And that's also what we do in the other two substantive courses. The second one, public organizations, is more an organizational science course, where you really learn about the organizational structure, the role of professionals in organizations, organizational systems. So that's really what that focuses on. And the third course is on social transformations. It's really about the context of public administration and organizations. It's about the big changes in society, such as globalization, individualization, technological change. So it's really about understanding some of these big changes in society to understand the new and changing position of government organizations. So those are the three substantive courses. The next group of courses are the methodology courses. There's quite a set of methodology courses, and they start with a course on philosophy of science, because we think that you should understand the basics of knowledge production. You should understand differences between interpretive research and positivist research. You should understand why we do actually research, what our claim is to developing knowledge. So we'll discuss some of the key philosophers, such as Karl Popper, to understand what science is really about. It's a course I teach myself, and it's great fun.
I would like to add something to that, because what I've noticed after we've done this course is that every single course and class we have after this, there will always be someone who will raise sort of a philosophical position. They will ask when we have guest lecturers. They will sort of try to figure out what is the philosophical position. How can we see that is this particular article we're reading? So I think it's great that you start out with this course, and it's different from what I did in my bachelor's level in philosophy of science, because what you really did with this course is go in depth with it, and a big part of it is discussing it. So you really sort of get immersed into the literature, and that really pays off the other courses as well. Sometimes I think that our guest lecturers are a little bit frightened by us because we all seem to be really fierce on the philosophical position.
Yeah, but a good academic debate is what we need, right? So
so that's great.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Well, and following up on that, there's quite a set of methodology courses. They focus on what we call high control and low control designs. High control designs are designs such as experimental research or survey research, where you have quite a bit of control over the research situation, whereas low control designs are case studies or ethnographic research. So we think it's important to learn about both types of designs. So that's why we have courses in these different types of research methods. You have quite a few options where you can choose, for example, between survey research or experimental research, where you can choose between ethnographic research or case study research. So we really want you to choose the courses that will help you most. And what course did you choose in this period?
I'm doing survey design. For me, it was a little bit difficult to choose, and a lot of us actually wanted to do both, but you do need to be aware that the courses are very extensive. You have to put in a lot of effort. So for me and for several other people who were planning to do both, we actually decided not to. And I'm very happy with the survey design. Again, it's this is taught now in a pretty small group, so you really have an interactive experience in these courses as well. And it's a really cool way of doing projects. You have to develop sort of a research paper. You have to actually make a survey. And I know that that's the case for experimental as well. They actually have to design an experiment and maybe even carry it out. So that's cool.
Yeah. So there's a great variety of methodology courses, and we really want to sort of want all the students to teach all the different methods, so that in the end of this program, you're really skilled at doing both qualitative and quantitative research. We believe in multi-method designs, mixed method designs. So we really want to teach you different designs.
That's also something that comes up in philosophy of science.
Okay. And as Mai said before, there's also quite a few options to make up your own program. We have quite a bit of room where you can choose your own tutorial, where you can do summer schools, where you can do electives. We think it's important that next to the general program, in addition to the general program, it's important that students can focus on subjects that they find interesting. For example, I offer a tutorial in urban governance, where people can learn more about the role of technology in urban governance. So I work with one student now on this subject. He's going to investigate the role of big data in urban governance. And that's something that he finds really interesting, and that's closely related to the type of research that I do. So it gives him the opportunity to work on a one-by-one basis with me and to really learn about this subject. Well, in addition, there's options for summer schools, options for electives. Mai, what kind of tutorial are you doing?
I'm doing a tutorial on successful governance. I'm not super far with it yet. I'm doing it with a professor who's called Paul Hart. And I think it's a very nice project. It's sort of I will do a little part of a bigger project, which is sort of a 5-year project. And the idea is that very often there's a lot of focus on why policies fail. But this project is actually trying to figure out, can we say something about why they succeed? What are the criteria? So it will actually be a multi-method study. I will probably primarily be doing qualitative, maybe even some discourse analysis, but we'll see when it progresses.
Okay, and well, the final type of course is the research tracks, doing research. At the end of the first year, you will do an applied research project. So that's a team project where you will be working with 2 or 3 other students, and you're going to do real applied research. So we'll find some public organizations, or maybe even sometimes private organizations, but mostly public organizations that have a request for research to be done, and then you're going to do this research project for them. And in the end, you have to write a report, present it to the public organization or to the person that has commissioned the research. And then you really learn how to work in that context, how to do research for somebody who really has a question, needs something to be found out. And it's a good way also to learn to do research in a team, which we think is increasingly important. So it's a really nice combination of learning a little bit about teamwork, but also learning how to do applied research. And the second part in the thesis track, that's in the second part of the second year. It's actually the final part of your studies. For half a year, you will be working on your thesis, and that is an individual project. It's sort of the capstone project for the whole program. So you can bring everything together there, and then you can really focus on a subject that you find really interesting. For example, I have this Indonesian student who's really interested in smart cities. So he's going to investigate the support for smart cities in Bandung, the Indonesian city of Bandung. And he's written a very interesting research proposal, and now he's going to Bandung to do the research. So that's just one example of other people do research into accountability, transparency, public professionals, and all kinds of other subjects. So you can really do research into something that you find interesting.
And just a little added note to that, you don't have to know this already when you enter the program. Some people have really firm ideas about exactly what kind of topic they want to investigate for their master thesis, but it can also be something that emerges during the program. I know that there's lots of people who are still not fully decided on what they want to do, and you can also just learn from the program and figure out what are your real interests and go from there.
Yeah. And here's an overview of the whole program. I'm sure you can find that on our website in our promotional material, but you'll see that the different types of courses, the substantive courses, the methodology courses, the research tracks, and the electives are in here. And it all builds up to the individual thesis track in the second semester of the second year. So I'll go through this quickly, but you can find it on our website and really look at it because it gives a good overview of all the courses you will take. If you look at the culture, because we've given you quite a bit of information about the structure of our program, but it would also be important to tell you a little bit more about the culture. I think we've already said something about it, but just to emphasize 3 points. The first point is it's excellence. We really want good students. I could even say excellent students. So we want really students that are dedicated to their studies, that work hard and really want to create good results. So it's really a high level of teaching. For example, if I teach class in philosophy of science, students have always prepared well for the lecture. They're ready to interact. So it's really about high standard, and it's about interaction. Students often ask me questions that I really have to think about. In that sense, I also learn a lot from these classes. So it's really about being at the same level. Sometimes it feels more like I'm interacting with fellow researchers than I'm really teaching to students. So that's, I think, one important feature. The second feature is freedom. Mai already talked about that. You have a lot of opportunities to create the program that fits your needs and your desires. So you can really make it into your program, both by doing by focusing the assignments in each of the courses on what you're interested in, and secondly also on choosing electives and summer schools that work for you. And the third one is the closed group, the network. We already talked about that, and what you see in this picture is a visit of the group to Lisbon, because each group starts with a research visit at the beginning of the year. Mai, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the research visit that you did.
We did 2 countries. We were going to Estonia and Finland. We were located in Tallinn in Estonia. And the reason for going there was that they really excel in what you can call e-governance. So we were going there to sort of see how they have developed since the 19th a very elaborate system of e-governance. So everything is online. It's even so elaborate that if Russia chooses to invade, they can just move the country virtually to a different location. It's pretty cool. And then Finland, which was mainly about their educational system. But besides being, of course, an educational trip, it's really just also a great opportunity to socialize and get to know each other right from the beginning, because you're going to work really closely with these people. We're a small group, and this was an awesome opportunity to sort of just be thrown right into that part as well.
Yeah. Okay, so next year the group will be going to Warsaw, I've heard so far. So I'm sure that's also going to be a very, very interesting visit. So each year they choose a different city, and it's a very nice combination of learning a lot about public administration, but also getting to know your fellow students. And when I start teaching after that research trip, the group is already forming a close-knit group where they know each other, and they have created a very nice atmosphere of collaboration.
Just one little note to the first point with excellence. I didn't have the experience in my bachelor studies that everyone would show up prepared, but in this program, even though we had to read 2 full books a week, everyone would have read everything, so that was quite overwhelming to experience.
Yeah, it's quite different from a bachelor program.
Yeah.
Okay, Mai has already given us quite a bit of information, but Mai, maybe you could tell us a little bit more and just tell us about your experiences in this master's program.
Yeah, so I think you've already gotten the impression that I'm pretty happy to be here, and I would like to tell maybe a little bit more about why I chose this program. Um, First of all, my impression was that this was a pretty unique opportunity to sort of both. I come from a background of organizational science, English, and communication, and I knew I wanted to do something more academic, but also my interest is public and not private. And then I came across this program, and for me, it's a perfect fit because you get the opportunity to have a very interdisciplinary take on things, and that was important for me. And also, maybe it could be good to talk a little bit more about sort of the daily life of a RESMA student. We don't have a ton of classes. Usually, it's sort of two what we can call meetings a week, where the actual teaching or sort of interaction takes place, because it is just an interaction rather than teaching. But besides that, there will be lots of group work, and you have to kind of be in charge of this yourself. So there will be, usually during 1 week, I have at least one group meeting, sometimes more. It depends a little bit on what kind of deadlines we have, because some deadlines are group work, some deadlines are individual. And it really requires you to think of this as a full-time study program. There will be lots of readings, and you will have to take on also sort of, you have to be responsible for your own time, and also to take interest in the subjects. It's not always enough to just read the articles you've been asked to read. You also have to be sort of curious and seek more information. And socially, I personally find it amazing that it's such a small group, because it means you kind of get to know everyone, of course, on different levels, but there's not much we do socially which isn't just on a group level. Just the other day we had a dinner at one of my classmates' place, and almost everyone showed up. So it's really nice to have this kind of close network.
Yeah.
It can be challenging from time to time. It can be a little bit, there are periods where the deadlines are really close. And for that part, I think it's really important to just be there for each other as well. Share your experience, because everyone's going through the same thing. And I think that will make it easier.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Let me now tell you a little bit about the career prospects. What kinds of jobs can you get when you do this program? The career prospects are very good. We see that actually all the people that graduate from our program find a job very soon after they've graduated. So in that sense, it's very successful. There is a high demand for people that have good research skills in public administration, organizational science. And if you see what kind of jobs people end up in, we see that about 40% ends up as a PhD student. I have some examples there. Maarten Hillebrand on top did research master's program, and then he did a PhD in European law at the University of Amsterdam. I am co-supervising his thesis, and he's defending it this Friday. Nina van Loon, the second one, did a PhD at Utrecht University. She did her PhD on public service motivation, and she obtained her PhD 2 years ago, and after that she went to Aarhus in Denmark to work there as a postdoctoral researcher. And Sjors Overman at the bottom did his PhD research at Nijmegen University in the Netherlands, and he did it on autonomization of government organizations, and he's now working as a postdoc at Utrecht University. So it's a very good start for an academic career, but it's also a good start for a career in government. You'll see Evert Schot at the bottom there, center in the bottom. He works as a policy analyst at the Department of Health. So he was really interested in healthcare already during his program, and now he's working as a policy analyst at the Department of Healthcare. Jiska Gietema, in the middle on top on the left-hand side, is working as a policy at the Educational Inspectorate. So it's the inspection of schools that she's interested in. And Fabrice Luiten, the other one in the center, works as a policy analyst, as a consultant at the tax department. So we see that I think about 25% of our students ends up having a job in government, and it's generally seen as a very, very good start because they're good at processing research and doing applied research. So they get good positions as policy analysts or policy consultants. And on the right-hand side, you see the people that end up in the consultancy job. I think that's about 20% of the people that end up, or also maybe 25% that ends up there. And they end up in the one on top is Eureka Balt, who's working at a consultancy bureau called Kessels and Smith. They're really working on consultancy in new forms of learning in organizations. So they're really interested in learning processes. Liedewij Verbaas works at Keen, Concept Enterprise Architect Nature. So she focuses on informational processes in organizations. And Dirk Schmidt at the bottom works at Sogeti, and he's also working on information in organizations. So the program also prepares you really well for this type of job. So both if you want to work in academia or if you want to work in government or consultancy, I think this program prepares you really well.
That was another thing when I was deciding on which programs to apply for. I was looking at alumni profiles, and I could just see that it's really interesting things that people have been doing afterwards, and that is not just some single cases. It's really generally that people get some cool jobs.
Yeah. Okay. So now we've told you all about the content of the program, the culture, the career perspectives. Now let us sort of end with some of the more formal side of it, the admission procedures. If you studied at Utrecht University, you need a Dutch bachelor's degree in public administration. So people from our own bachelor program can have access to this master's program. If you come from other Dutch or foreign universities, you need a university college or international bachelor's degree, or another 1-year international master's degree in one of the related disciplines, such as sociology or political science or media studies. And students with a bachelor's degree other than in public administration should have completed at least a minor in public administration or organizational science, or a basic introduction to research methods, including quantitative and qualitative methods. If you have any questions about your background, and if you think, okay, I've done this bachelor's degree in these programs, do I qualify for admission? Please do not hesitate to contact me or to contact Lars, and we'll look at your background and we'll tell you whether you qualify for the program. Because overall, what's important for us is that you have a basic understanding of public administration and organizational science. So we want to see whether you've done some courses in that field, and we want to see whether you have some training in social scientific research. But we can look at your background and we can tell you whether you qualify or not. So this is a basic overview, but please do not hesitate to contact us if you have any questions about this. This is very important. The date for admission is very soon. It's very near. So people from outside the European Union need to apply before the 1st of May. So you have a couple of weeks left before your application needs to be sent in. And students from the EU have 1 month extra time, so they need to send in their application before the 1st of May. I had some what you need to send in, and it's all on our website, but it's important to send in a CV, and we also want to send you in, and we want a letter from one of your teachers to tell us that they value your work or what kind of student you were. And we also want a research proposal, and that only needs to be like a 3, 4, 5-page proposal. For us, that's important for 2 reasons. We want to see whether you're able to think about research in public administration organizational science. So we want to see whether you have some basic training in designing research, in working with theory, in formulating an interesting research question. And secondly, we want to check whether the things you're interested in are really within our field of study. So if it ends up that the type of research question that you formulate is very different from the things we study in the program, then we will probably also tell you that it might be better for you to do another program. So for those two reasons, it's very important to send in a research proposal. But please look at the website with all the requirements. Send in your portfolio, its CV, your application letter, your letter of recommendation, and your research proposal. And then we will do the take-in interview as soon as we can. This was our presentation. We will now proceed with the Q&A. We already received some questions over chat. So yeah, maybe Maya, would you like to take some of the first questions?
Yeah, let's see. We have a question here
from Juliana de Leeuw.
Yeah, it's about whether she's saying that other USPO programs have a really strong focus on theory as well as practical skills, and she wants to know if this is also the case with this master's, and how well theory connect with practice. I think we have covered this in part, but I would say yes, very much so. I think that is one of the strongest part of this program, is that you definitely learn the skills you need to go out and do a job really well, whether that is in an academic field or if you choose to go outside academia, for instance, in government or some types of consultancy. And I think every time we have a theoretical perspective, we also learn what the practical implications are. So I think there's a really good balance between theory and practice.
Yeah. Let me see, there are some other questions. There was a question here about how many students start every year and how many international students. We have about 18 to 20 students starting each year, so it's a small group, as we said before, and we have between 3 and 5 international students. So the number of international students is rising, and we would actually want to end up with about a third international students. So that most of the students are still Dutch, majority is Dutch, but we have quite a substantial group of international students. Yeah, for example, Mike, could you tell us something about the international students in your year?
We well, I'm a Danish student, but we have a guy from Colombia, and we have a couple of Chinese girls. We did also have a German girl, but she dropped out. And we are, I think we're 17 or 18 people in my year, so I think that's a nice kind of representation. And of course, it's always nice with a good balance between international and Dutch students. And another thing is that people have different backgrounds, and that's very good also during these interactions, because there will always be sort of different skill sets and different perspectives that are present, because it's an interdisciplinary group of people.
Yeah. Another question here is, what level of English do you need to adequately participate in the master? It's an important question. We have formal requirements in the form of a TOEFL or IELTS scores. For the IELTS score, in terms people that are non-native speakers should have a minimum score of a 7.0 overall band and at least 6.5 for writing. The TOEFL score, the minimum score should be 100. If you do the Cambridge certificate in advanced English, it should be at least a B grade, and Cambridge certificate of proficiency in English, it should be a C grade. English is really important. We have noticed that it's important both to participate in classes, but also to write the papers in English. So we will really check the scores. For us, it's an important issue. And for Dutch students, we will look at your we will generally look at your own background, and if we don't see anything, and we'll do the interview. And in the interview, if we come to the conclusion that you speak well enough, then you don't have to do a separate test. So that's what specifically for the Dutch students. But for other students who are non-native speakers, they should do the tests.
There's another question here, which is from Michelle, And she's asking if it's meaningful to do this program, even if you come with, if you've been sort of outside in the real world for 10 years, a decade or so. And yeah, I think that can even be an interesting addition to a group of students. Of course, the requirements has to be met as well, but again, that will just be maybe something that gives valuable perspective as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can certainly do it. We have students that worked in government for a while. Sometimes it takes them a little bit of effort to get back into the routine of studying and reading books. But we've had one from England, one from Malaysia, and they in the end they've done really well, and I think they really benefited from this program in their subsequent careers. So it's really a good opportunity.
Maybe start reading a bit in the summer holiday leading up to getting into the routine.
Yeah, that might be helpful. Is it difficult to find housing for international students? Maybe that would be an interesting question for you, Maan.
Well, I sort of had it easy because I have a Dutch boyfriend, and he was able, his parents made sure that we had a place to stay. But in general, yes, it is. But there is help from the university.
Yeah.
So you definitely need to be in good time when you apply. You should also after that start looking for housing and exploring the different options. There's most help, of course, if you want to have live in a student dorms and these kinds of things, but there are also other options, and there's quite a lot of information provided on websites where you can go and how to do it.
Yeah. Another question is here, is there an interview during the selection procedure? Yes, there's always an interview. We prefer to do the interview face-to-face. So when we've received your paperwork, we'll invite you to come over to our institute to do the interview. If that's difficult because you live in another country or because you're abroad for some time, we're very happy to do the interview over Skype. So then we will still do the interview. You will have to make sure that you have a good Skype connection, and then we'll do an interview in very much the same way, but then just over Skype. So the interview will always play a key role in the admission procedure.
I had an interview over Skype, and that was fine.
Yeah. Is it a question here? Is it common to go abroad during this master? Is it encouraged? Yes, certainly we do encourage you to go abroad. Sometimes you have to think about it quite in advance to plan it well, because there's no specific term or period in the program where you really can go abroad without missing any courses. But each year we do see some students. One of our students went to Australia, for example, so she took some courses there which she uses electives in our programs. She also took some time there to already start working on her thesis. And I think in the end, she graduated 2 months late, but or maybe not even. But it took her. Sometimes it does take a little bit longer. But we have many contacts abroad. One of the strong features of this program is that we work with 6 universities. So for that reason, we have many contacts in many countries. So we really facilitate people that want to go abroad. Okay, well, thank you very much for attending this session. We hope to have given you all the information you need. Tomorrow you will receive an email with a link to the recording of this session. Our email addresses are also here on the final slide. So you can always contact us if you have any information. So please do not hesitate to contact us, and good luck choosing a program that fits your needs and your desires. Thank you very much.
I can add one little thing. Sorry. My email address will also be added in the end if you just have some student-only questions. But the main contact is over here.
Okay. Thanks again.